Well, good morning. As was said, my name is Mackenzie Neal, and I came from Washington, D.C., which is basically sea level. I was very sick the first day here. I'm from the Quapaw Nation, Elk Clan, and I'm pretty new to the government. And so I know everyone's kind of sleepy this morning. I hope the coffee kicks in during our presentation. If you need to get the wiggles out, that's fine too. I definitely was like shaking my leg back there. So yes, U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs. I'm sure that name brings up a lot of ideas, maybe some negative ones, but I can assure you, BIA is an awesome place to work. I've been there 8 months. I'm never leaving. So before we move forward, allow me to introduce my colleague, Weston. So if you want to say your tribe, your job, all that.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Weston Cain. I'm a program specialist for Pathways. Been here about 2.5 years. I actually started my career as a Pathways intern, so coming full circle. Before that, I did a little work at Beaufort, which is Branch Forest Resource Planning out of Lakewood. Then I worked for Mr. Aaron Baldwin for 5 years as a fire planner back there. And so fun to come full circle. And I'm Cherokee, by the way. And yeah, so I did.
Thanks. Did he teach you how to use this? Okay, then you're going to be in charge because I cannot be trusted with technology. All right, so trying to keep this pretty quick, not get too into the details, and make sure that we share information that's actually useful for you guys. But first, I did want to talk a little bit about BIA Office of Trust Services, where we actually are based. Following that, a little bit more info about workforce needs in Indian country. We've had a lot of those themes talked about this week, so we can zoom through it. It's pretty familiar at this point. Following that, actually getting into the nitty-gritty about Pathways, what it is, the requirements, how it can help you in your career. Maybe give you a couple examples of internships, cool things you can do with your time with Pathways. And then eventually talking last about conversion to full-time employment opportunities with BIA. So, all right, so raise your hand if you have heard of the Office of Trust Services before. Wow, that's more than I thought. Okay, nice. We're doing a little better. All right, so for those of you who don't know, recall earlier this week we talked about trust. What does that mean? What does self-determination mean? Sovereignty. The Office of Trust Services is the branch of the BIA that helps tribes manage their natural resources for the benefit of generations to come. BIA has all of these different branches and offices. We do everything under the sun. If there's a job you're interested in, I guarantee BIA has it because of the vast diversity of things you can see on the screen. I don't know if any of you guys want to be realtors, but there's realty, so I didn't know that moving in. Obviously, the ones that we're interested in today are probably forestry and wildland fire management, maybe environmental and cultural resources, water and power, tribal climate resilience. All of these individuals work very closely together to ensure that tribal nations have exactly what they need to manage their resources, that they can protect their lands, that they can utilize their lands for economic benefit, create jobs, create funds and revenue that can fund educational programs and things that our people need, right? So over here, I just want to direct you to this really cool statistic. 56 million surface acres of natural resources. That is what tribes have in trust. And that's what our office helps them manage. What was surprising to me, though, was that there's 60 million subsurface mineral estates. That's so much land and so much opportunity for tribes. Any questions about any of these branches, any of these terms unfamiliar to y'all? Yeah, go ahead.
What's a subsurface mineral estate?
I'm glad you asked. So think about like Oklahoma, large mineral reserves, zinc. I think for my tribe, half of the bullets in World War II were developed from the minerals that were mined from my tribe's lands, which is why we have a Superfund site, but we don't talk about that. So subsurface mineral estates can also be oil, I think. And so basically, if there are individuals who have land allotments and they want to use those mineral estates for economic benefit, BIA can help them manage that, help contract it, and make sure that we're taking care of the land while we do it. Any other questions so far? Okay, thanks. Just really quickly, we are here in the Southwest. I came from over here. BIA is split across the country, also operates in Alaska, which, oh, it's right there, cool. So if you want a job with BIA, you can work anywhere. I've been with BIA 8 months. I've already traveled to 6 different states, just doing these kinds of events. We have all kinds of agencies. Eastern region is a little rough because they're based in Tennessee and they have to care for all of that side. So definitely a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of land to manage and a lot of different climates and places. And so definitely recommend considering BIA if you want a career where you can go see different places, explore all of the natural resources and beautiful spaces we have to offer. So today I'm here because we need a workforce. I'm here because you guys need jobs. It's perfect, match made in heaven. So we heard a lot this week about how the federal workforce is aging. I'm probably the youngest person I've met in government so far, and so I can attest to that. So in the next 5 years, at least a third of the federal government will be retiring for BIA. It's actually worse. I don't know the actual statistic, haven't seen it recent, so I can't speak to it. But we have an aging workforce. We heard about them talk about it last couple days, saw it on the field trip. And critical hiring needs are, it's a term that it describes what we are critically in need for, what we are desperate to hire for. Notice, these ones kind of relate to you, don't they? We are desperate for wildland fire managers. We are desperate for foresters, GIS specialists, natural resource management specialists. These are all critical jobs to help tribes manage their assets and resources, to make sure that our tribal lands are taken care of. So do know that you guys are in a great field, and there is definitely work and job security in these fields. So, all right, so actually getting into pathways. So next slide. So what is Pathways? Pathways is a program that's across the federal government. So it's not just U.S. Forest Service, it's not just BIA, but basically it is how the government does internships. It used to be called the STEP program, maybe SCEP at one point. Yes, Skip. But now it's Pathways. And so basically you can get a paid job, a paid internship with the government to work over a summer, during a semester, all year round. And so there's full-time and part-time opportunities available. It's fully paid. And if you are a full-time employee or if you work a certain number of hours in a week, you get sick time, you get leave. You can sign up for healthcare benefits if you work for a certain amount of days per month. So that's very unique. You will not find that in most private sector internships. I know, I did all unpaid internships and it sucked. So something else that's great about BIA Pathways though, is that we really want to help you guys. We want to retain you. So we will help you pay for your education. We have tuition assistance up to $5,000 a year at this point. We have scholarships that you can apply for other things. We help connect you to scholarships. We send you to conferences. I will foot the bill for you to come to things like this if you're a Pathways intern, because we know that it helps your professional development. And finally, student loan repayment is something that you can do with BIA and government in general. Raise your hand if you have student loans. Nice. Me too. I'm really excited about that $10,000 relief that's supposed to be coming. So what student loan repayment agreements are like is if you decide to take a job with the BIA, you sign a contract, you decide to work for the BIA at least 4 or 5 years, they will pay a lot of money for your student loans. We have money, we want to throw it at you, we want to keep you with us, we want to support your educational goals. And finally, I think the best part about Pathways though, is that it allows for a literal path to federal employment. It's not easy to get a federal job. There are a lot of things that get in the way. But luckily, when you have a Pathways internship program, if you accrue enough hours, if you make the right connections and you do a good job, you can get an automatic conversion to a permanent position. So luckily, that means you don't submit interview requests, you don't send out 40 applications and never hear back. You know, it's really nice. It's you develop relationships with the people who will be your future supervisors. You get to explore different career paths before committing to one. And it's really, really beneficial. So great opportunity.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, really, you got to be 18 years old, obviously. So you have to be enrolled in an accredited college or university or a tribal college. So use things like that. For forestry, you have to be in a forestry related field because the requirements. You're going to probably speak about that with the series here in a little bit. You must maintain part-time, full-time status as a student. We're kind of working on that a little bit. I know you have a little bit in the works. My prior experience, well, you had to be a full-time student. I know we're kind of going back and forth now that You know, we have online courses and we have people who have lives and they have to work. You know, some people have children, and so it's hard to be a full-time student. So we're working on that a little bit, maybe trying to be more flexible. You have to maintain a 2.0 cumulative GPA. So yeah, I mean, that's probably pretty easy for most of you. I'm pretty sure y'all look like you're pretty smart. So I'm imagine you guys can maintain a 2.0. And then you have to be enrolled in a federally recognized tribe. So 4432, verification of Indian preference. So those are pretty much the requirements that we have. And then you have to work, like Mackenzie said, 640 hours of internship hours to convert non-competitively. But we can waive up to 320 if you have prior experience, say working for the Forest Service or for a tribe, something like that. We can waive that and get you down to 320. So that's it.
And to that point, if you meet those requirements, you get through the application process, we start working with you to find a good internship placement. What's cool about BIA that you will not find anywhere else, you can intern with a tribe. You can intern with your tribe. You can intern with an Alaska Native corporation. If you've never been to Alaska, you want an excuse to go fishing, go have an internship there. So what's really neat is it's not just tribal governments, but also tribal enterprises. So if there is, I don't know, a logging company that your tribe runs and you just really want to be the CEO one day, we can pay your salary to intern there. And it really helps out both the BIA and the tribe, because if tribes are empowered to manage their own lands, that's less work we have to do, right? Some other benefits for your awareness, Pathways now covers all salary, timekeeping, travel costs. So there's no burden on the host office. So your tribe would not have to foot any bill for you. We give them the money for your salary, for your benefits, for your travel. And we want you guys to travel. We want to enable that. We want you to go to conferences. I'll pay your conference fees. Like I said, we want to develop you into successful individuals. If you end up not working for BIA and Forest Service or somewhere else entirely, that's fine with me, because we're still helping Indian country's workforce, right? Yeah.
Elaborate on a few places that we sent students this summer. We sent one individual up to Canada Chiefs Conference up in Alaska. So she worked with the tribe up there on summer doing forestry. We sent another student on the Navajo Hot Shops this summer from Texas. We had 2 students on the BIA timber team this year who went all over the Pacific Northwest, some of the Midwest. So those are just some of the opportunities that we had in forestry and fire, let alone the other side of it. I mainly do forestry and fire. So talking about minerals and stuff, that's not really my wheelhouse. So I just know well, yeah, I can tell the team. I don't know what timber team is here to tell them. I don't need to sell the program. The timber team is basically a group of individuals they have set aside that works for the national office who go to different tribes, different agencies, and they assist with things like stand exams, CFIs, which is continuing forest analysis or inventory, things like that they need help with. And I believe Pete had touched on a little bit the other day where they're going to try to help with like their writing of their forest plans and things like that. So yeah, I mean, those students this summer, I mean, I think they were working somewhere getting like, I think they probably appeared to probably 160, 170 hours of overtime. And I mean, I can tell you right now that, I mean, the students we sent off, they absolutely loved it. They've come back every year. And it's a great opportunity to see different places at a very short time, because it's 3 months usually that we'll have these students out. So think about all the different agencies and all the different tribes that you can see. I think they went to at least 5 or 6 different places this summer. So
that's the next one. And like Wes was just saying, some examples. We have firefighters. We have individuals who do climate change research. If you're not fully committed to forestry and you're not too sure what you want to do yet, we can put you on rotational assignments. So you can spend a few weeks with one group, a few weeks with another, just shadowing and getting that experience, or do a whole summer at one place, do a whole summer at another place, and just gauge your interests, right? I had no idea I'd be working in this field in strategic workforce development and HR and stuff. I thought I was a diplomat. So that just goes to show you can bounce around and follow what you actually like. And that takes time to investigate. It takes time to find that out and what your specialties want to be. All right, this is a long slide, so we're just going to try and make it as least painful as possible. But this is the stuff that you need to actually convert to a forestry position in particular. So obviously that 2.0 cumulative, very important. You need it. No exceptions. Sorry. But like Wes was saying, you guys are all smart. You guys are all good students. You're here. We have full faith that you guys can achieve that. Working at least 640 hours as a student trainee, or 320 if you have past internship experience, or if you have really good grades. So if you are a junior and you don't think you have enough time in the summer to accrue those hours, get really good grades, maybe have a documentation of past work experience, and we can help you out. And the more complicated one is this next bullet, which is about OPM. So the Office of Personnel Management. They're the ones who decide who is qualified for what jobs across the entire government. So they have a list of all of the things that you need to fulfill in order to take up a position. For example, in my position, I'm a manager. I needed past managerial experience to qualify. In this case, if you have a forestry degree, you're probably fine. If you have environmental science or biology, you just need to show on your transcript that you have a certain amount of credit hours that are tied directly to forestry. Any questions so far about that? I know it's a little complicated. Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Fine with talk about academic excellence. Seems like more than a 2.0. So is there a GPA point that works in this things you need to qualify, require to qualify for?
Right. So in order to waive the 320 hours, you need a 3.5, or you need to be a member of an honor society, which is a lot easier to do. So just keep that in mind. I remember the honor society for my school for political science was a 3.0. I was like, yes. All right. So when it comes to other GPA things that might be important to know, if you get a 3.0 or a 2.95, we can round it up to 3. You actually get to start at a higher grade on the GS scale. So if you have good grades, you can get a higher starting salary, and that can be a difference of $10,000, $20,000 depending on locality and stuff. So definitely prioritize grades if you can. All right, and the last 2 bullets, that's about kind of more when you're closer to actually like interning or finding a final assignment. You just need to make sure that you've done well in your internships. We have students who are more passive often, and I noticed that a lot with the Native students I've worked with in the past, like not as great as advocating for ourselves. Maybe we don't feel comfortable in professional spaces because these spaces weren't designed for us. That's okay. I mean, BIA is amazing because I work exclusively with natives at this point. I don't know of any non-natives in my department. So BIA is unique in that we have a ton of native people who get it, who are okay if you take off to go to ceremony. They're not going to ask you weird questions. You don't have to over-explain yourself. You don't have to give them a history lesson every 5 minutes on sovereignty and what it is. So know that that is kind of a benefit to these internships, and you will be fully successful if you apply yourselves. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, the GS level about perfect grades applies to all board service jobs or just for the?
So just for Pathways interns. So if you're a Pathways trainee, that's the only time that I think GPA is going to be considered. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but. All right, and finally, we might ask you to relocate. Forestry, there are obviously pockets of the country that have more trees than others. My community doesn't have a lot of trees. So that is something that we ask of interns, is to be flexible and be open-minded about where you want to work. If we send you somewhere, you don't have to stay there. Just give it a shot. If you really hate being away from home, we can find arrangements to bring you back. We just want you guys to expand your horizons, open your eyes, try new things, and hopefully follow where the need is in Indian country. You can learn a lot from other tribes. I think that's the best part of my job, is I get to learn from all of you guys and hear about your different communities and your different needs. So, yeah.
Also, you know, if it's something, you know, we do have some students who have families and things like that. You know, if you can't move, we will try to move mountains to keep you at your current location or get you a job as close to home as possible. There are just some exceptions. Like I'm from Oklahoma. I mean, when I got out of college, the opportunities to work for BIA Forestry was slim to none. I mean, the closest job was a GS12. I'm a GS5. I didn't excel in college. I graduated with a low GPA. I drank too many beers in college, I'll be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, there just wasn't a lot of opportunities that could qualify for those jobs. So, but just know that we will definitely try our best to put you close to home if we need to, if you have to accommodate. But yeah, there's some times where you just have to relocate.
So if you have like already the GS level when you started with, you know, the initial start, and then you go into the Pathways program, do you guys honor the past GS level?
So we go up to a GS4 So unfortunately, that's as high as we can go within the internship program. But I'm going to let Mr. Aaron Baldwin, because he can probably give a little more information about this. Or like, I would imagine once you convert, it probably helps you get to a higher GS level right off the bat.
That's what I was gonna say. So in the federal government, so you get, time and grade. So if you do have a GS6 or something, you still get to have that time and grade in your resume and stuff. So if you finish the program and then you do apply for like a GS7 or something, so you still will get credit for that grade. It's just like you don't lose it, but sometimes you gotta step back to leap forward. So yeah, you still get credit for the time and grade and stuff. So.
Anyone else have questions about that?
All right, so when it comes to the internship, let's pretend you were an intern, awesome, you got your hours, awesome, fully successful rating, you're amazing, you got scholarships, you got your degree, home free, awesome, time to get a job. So we have 120 days from your graduation date, like the actual degree conferral date. We have 120 days to get you into a job. For the government, that's actually really fast. So we have to work very hard, and you guys need to be very communicative with us in order for us to achieve this. We make every effort to place you where you want to be geographically in the field you want to be. Sometimes it's tough and we have to make concessions based on location or availability. But for the most part, our students are generally very pleased with where they end up. And if maybe they're a little scared about moving, they realize this is exactly where I was meant to be at this point in my life. So again, just be open-minded about opportunities. When it comes to that conversion period, we just need to compile paperwork, honestly. That's all it takes. You don't have to go through interviews for the most part. You don't have to submit a very crazy detailed resume. We're going to update your resume, sure, just make sure. But it's not as difficult as it would be if you applied from the outside. So just something to keep in mind. So I'll let Wes kind of talk about the photos here. I'm not as familiar with these students, and if you don't know, that's fine too. That's fine. You can always tell them what they're doing, because with forestry, I get forestry and fire mixed up all the time. But I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures of students in the field. What's cool about BIA is, okay, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but because our workforce is aging and we're desperate for people, there's a lot of growth opportunity. You will be working. You're not going to be filing files in a closet somewhere like I had to as an intern. You're not going to be, I don't know, just standing looking at people doing their work. You're going to be doing it because we need you. BIA's pathway students are actually a very valuable and important source of BIA's current workforce. Timber team, I think we made up half of their employees. Yeah, pathway students made half of the timber team this year. That's crazy. And they were essential. Without them, they would not have been able to go to as many places as they did. They wouldn't have the impact that they did. They wouldn't have helped as many tribes as they did. So yeah, I don't know. You want to speak to some of these pictures?
Yeah, so these are the old pictures that I didn't add in here. These are all photos that were added here. But yeah, I mean, it's most of them. I mean, how many people in here are probably already active in wildland fire anyways? I figured you were. So we got at least 4 or 5. So most of y'all know what this is anyways. I mean, one individual here has got a drip torch. She's probably putting off a burn line there, or a back burn line for a scrap fire. Other person's just walking with plastic. Other person's running some forestry equipment, and yeah, I mean, the other ones are, if guys taking a DBH diameter breast height on a tree to see how big it is. Yeah, pretty much it. I don't really know what else to tell you on those. So yeah, but I guess that's all we have. Is there any questions that we can help or address or anything like that?
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm already working for an internship. Like, I applied for this with my hours for an internship. Like, work like this.
Yes, it would, most likely. We need some kind of documentation, like maybe a letter from your supervisor, but that's not even required. But yeah, it's we can count a lot of different experiences. So
Any more questions?
I got one more.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of applying and stuff like that. So there was an age cutoff for federal. It's not implemented into that fire retirement. Talking about fire retirement. Just whatever it is. I don't know. Like some kind of-
yeah, nope, no.
Fire retirement.
You could be 60 if you're a student. You can be a pathways intern.
And like as far as for like applying for the job, you know how they have that 27 cutoff? That is that just for like the arduous?
I'm not sure, honestly. I'm sorry.
What was the question? I can't hear, I'm old. He's asking about the 27 age, 7-year-old. Yes, 37.
37's the cutoff.
Yeah,
Can't
so
have enter a primary firefighting position past the age of 37 because you have a 20-year or a 57 mandatory retirement fire. They want to get rid of this old guy. So that's all I need.
in wildland fire, you have to establish 3 years of primary fire to be able to get the 20-year retirement. And you have to have that before age 37. You can still apply for a secondary wildland fire management position, 90 days of wildland fire under your belt. And you can still go into a secondary fire position, but you will not have firefighter coverage. So
Thank you, everyone.
Break, we'll write it all out for you.
Okay, Jim, did you want to add anything?
I was just wondering if the firefighter compensation package that was in the bill applied to the tax program for firefighters under the.
So at this time, no, but that's something we're in discussions with HR about. So long story short, our students are on the same position description, so it can be really flexible. So it's not technically classified as fire, not currently eligible for that pay bump. But we're talking about using some old ones and grandfathering them in to maybe give people that ability to have that incentive. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the goal with that is that before next summer rolls around, when the students go out, we want to have that established so they can get that paid. We want to make sure that they have to get paid as much as they possibly can, because GS4 wages is pretty low. I mean, so if they can get that little bit of a bump, that's definitely a bonus. So hopefully before next summer, if we have any students out working, we'll have it figured out.
So I have a question for you. Do you have enough staff in your office?
Luckily, we have 7 people fully dedicated to pathways. So you had coordinators who are individually assigned to you. They are with you on your whole journey through the Pathways program. They get to know you, your educational goals. They advise you. They're your resource. We're all pretty casual too, so you can talk to us about anything. The goal is for us to support you. And we've been there. We've been students. We've been interns. We understand what it's like and what you're going through. So know that we have a lot of staff. There's a lot of money being pushed at us right now. So now's the time to be part of the program.
Were you doing a workforce assessment or a study? Comprehensive workforce assessment study in BIA.
So that is what my office does. So workforce strategic planning and all of that. I don't personally do it. I work in studying the statistics we have about interns and young people. What are they studying? How do we get them in? Our HR office probably has a lot of long-term workforce staffing statistics and data and plans like that. But I don't usually do it.
I thought that there was building.
It's a brand new office. So Nathan Lilly's and the opposite, just the strategic workforce planning development office, which is pretty new, established last year or two. So
yeah, it's more just a comment. I want to thank you guys for what you do. I'm with CSKT and we had a couple of your pathways and it is a very important program because you guys helped us out a lot. Fire season picked up and a lot of our technicians had to go. The 2 that came in, we put them through hell. I mean, they were in rugged country and they always showed up. And I mean, unfortunately we had an injury. But I just want to thank you guys. I mean, it really helped us get a lot done. I know it helped these guys a lot too. So it is a very important program and a lot of good opportunities. So thanks.
thank you.
All right, why don't you all give them a hand, say thank you. And next up, we have Dr. Katherine Edgeley. She's a professor at the School of Forestry, and she will be presenting on what is known as a 401 program here at NAU. And this is an effort to assist wildland firefighters in their efforts to gain the to meet the requirements for meeting 401 series requirements. So thank you, Kat.
Thank you very much. So I'm here today on behalf of someone else. These are not my slides, so hopefully I can speak to them. I'll talk a little bit about the 401 series we have here at NAU, and then I'll also talk quickly about the Southwest Fire Science Consortium as well, which is based here at NAU. So our 401 series here, it's housed in the School of Forestry. Pretty much everything related to the certificate can be done remotely. So we bring in folks from all over the country. Most of them are focused in the Southwest, but we get folks from California, Florida, all over to participate in this. Our program is targeted at folks within the federal government. A small but not insignificant portion of them did not get college degrees. So they're here to build up their education within their program so that they can climb through the GS levels a little bit faster or broaden out into new opportunities that they might not have had before. Our program right now is 15 semester units, so 5 courses to get the certificate. The certificate is at the undergraduate level, and it's all kind of upperclassmen courses, 300 or 400 level classes here. We have 5 sections, so there's a selection of courses you can choose from, and you're just choosing 5 from within those. They range from fire ecology, ecology, biology, all the way down to more kind of technological stuff like GIS, management. There's a natural resource policy class, a little bit of everything. And our goal really is to bring in folks from the fire worlds to this course so that they can fill in some of those critical workforce gaps we have. Usually you can complete this program within 2 years if you're able to take a class every time one comes up. Most of the classes are offered once every 2 years, so you can start at any point, any semester, and then it's just 2 years from that starting point. Our courses are a mix of 7-week classes during the fall and spring semesters and 4-week over winter break. That one gets really condensed because we have the holidays, the new year. There's a lot going on, so that one's quite fast moving. But some of them are a mix. So the longer ones, the 7-week ones, you can do 6 weeks remote, and then we often have the students come out to campus for the last week to work on projects, to go on field trips, meet with faculty here. So it can be a good mix, and you get to meet folks in person from the classes because there's not a lot that's super fun about just talking on discussion boards online. So it's good to have that piece as well. Let's see what else we got here. The mix keeps costs down. So a lot of the students that we have in these courses, their agency is paying for their attendance. They'll pay for textbooks, they'll pay for the course credit. All of those things are often covered by your agency who's employing you. There's a little list of the offerings we have here at NAU. We've got a fire ecology course, forest ecology, lots of kind of on the ground silviculture, fuel treatment modeling. A lot of these courses focus on the programs that the federal agencies are using, things like Behave for fire modeling. So you're getting hands-on with what you're going to see on your job. So it should be relatively streamlined from one thing to another. We got stuff like policy, wilderness management, and some are in person at the end, some are on Zoom. So a good mix of bits and pieces. I'll round out by talking a little bit about who's in our classes. We have a pretty diverse group of people across the certificate. This statistic is just for the last couple of years. We've had more than 68 or somewhere around 68% of our students from underrepresented groups. I'd say in any class, we have between 30 and 60% BIA students. And then the rest tend to be park service and fish and wildlife. We don't get that many forest service students. This program started way back in 2007. I don't think we were collecting great statistics back then, but since 2019, we've had in the last 3 years, at least 45 folks from the BIA take classes with us. And they're averaging 6 courses. So some of them are taking beyond the certificate requirements just to build further experience. And they've come from a long way too. We've had them from 8 different states so far, which is fantastic. I'll close out this piece with a couple of testimonials that we think highlight the strengths of this course for folks coming from the agencies who can benefit from the 401 series. This one expanded myself into other discipline positions. So this person, upon completion of the course, was able to move into new roles within their agency, detail into new positions that they wouldn't have been able to do without this. So helps build your capacity to grow within your agency. And this person had some fantastic stuff to say. A lot of the folks who come into this course, they have a lot of experience on the ground, but they might not know kind of the science behind what they're doing or the theory. So that's kind of rounding out their knowledge. This guy said, I never knew about forestry or like this component of it until he started the course. He was able to climb up the ranks. So climbing GS levels is a really valuable part of this course. And getting that college experience for the folks who didn't have the opportunity to. If you're interested in any more about this, the link for this is super long. If you just Google NAU School of Forestry 401 series, you should find this page pretty quickly. It's got all the information there. And we do have an email address. You're welcome to reach out. The next course starts in 2 weeks' time. That's the wellness management class. So you could even get in very, very soon if you wanted to on this. Any questions on this before I zip through the last piece? All right, gotta get to the break. Second part of my presentation is the Southwest Fire Science Consortium, also based here at NAU. We have an office up in the School of Forestry for this. And we've been around we just hit our 10-year anniversary, and there are consortiums like this all over the US. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're up to. The Science Consortium kind of emerged from this recognition in the fire world. There's a lot of scientists doing research on this topic, and then there's a lot of managers working on the ground, and there wasn't a good connection between them, or there were some gaps missing in the communication. So scientists doing research that doesn't benefit managers, managers not being able to access the science they need to do good work on the ground. You might have heard of the Joint Fire Science Program. This is within the federal government. So firescience.gov is the website for this one. Most of the research on fire science in the US comes from this kind of subdivision of the federal government. It's interagency, so it's housed up in NIFC in Boise, if you know where that is, Interagency Fire Center. It's been around quite a long time now, more than 20 years. We're funding a lot of research there. And there was an independent review in the late 2000s that said we need more localized or regionalized work to understand place-specific needs when it comes to fire science. So that's how all these exchanges came around. There's 15 right now across the US. So we're in the Southwest one. If the consortium's name ends in consortium, and it was one of the original 5 funded. There's other ones like Great Basin Fire Exchange, which was added on, so in the second wave. But hopefully, wherever you are in the US, you have a consortium or a fire science network that's dedicated to your area's fire science specifically. Our missions as different consortia are to be inclusive, bring in new perspectives on fire science, be impartial. We're providing the best available science, but not advocating for it. We're giving it to politicians, to managers, so that they can use it as they see fit. It's end user driven, so we're doing a lot of question asking about what managers want, what tribes need, what information is there missing in the big fire conversations we're having right now. We're collaborative, so trying to foster partnerships between scientists and land managers. And hopefully that's going to be cutting edge or innovative as well as facilitating conversations and opportunities for students, for researchers, for land managers to work together. Our audience seems to vary year on year. We have scientists, managers, practitioners. We do a lot of education stuff as well. So we develop like K-12 curricula for different schools in Arizona. That's been one of our missions. But most of them are natural resource specialists of some shape or form. So we're speaking to those folks when we're at bringing the science out. I'll finish up here with some of the things we do and what we create. We have a website I'll show on the next slide. Big one is travel grants. If you're a student working on fire-related things right now, keep an eye out. Your consortia, wherever you're based, usually has travel scholarships available for you, or they can cover your hotel, your registration, stuff like that. If you're going somewhere a bit more expensive or further afield, look to the Association for Fire Ecology's TREE grants. It's like travel and research something. But that one can give you up to $700 for a fire-related conference, and you do not have to be a member of the Association for Fire Ecology to get that. So that's really good, and you can apply multiple times. So it's not a one-off. That's a really useful resource. We've got videos, story maps, we have databases. So every exchange has its own library of research that's been produced in your region. We do syntheses, we've had stuff like art shows. Our big output is we do field trips. So every consortium has a mailing list. If you go on your website for yours, you should be able to find it, and you'll hear about field trips, and then you can use our travel grants to attend. Our website is swfirescienceconsortium.org. If you Google your area, your region, Fire Science Consortium or Exchange Network, you should be able to find your equivalent as well. I know we're running into break, so maybe I'll wrap up there. And any quick questions? It's a really useful resource if you're a fire researcher or you're doing something adjacent.
So I have received the travel scholarship, but it might be good for students to know. What is the range of travel assistance you provide, and are there any requirements for applying?
Yes, that's a good question. The travel assistance, at least for our consortium in the Southwest, is open to anyone. You don't have to be a student, but we do prioritize students. You can also be with a nonprofit, with a tribe, whoever you're working with, it's for that, and it's tied to specific events. So go to your local website, your local consortium, and you'll see what events they're offering travel scholarships for. They don't advertise a cap on how much money is available. So I think it can range from just $75 registration all the way up to $500 for hotels and things like that. And we prioritize who we give travel scholarships to based on their involvement in that event. So if you're a presenter, if you have a poster, you're giving a session, then you are the top priority, and then it kind of goes based on need after that.
I had one question for you, Kat. Now, the 401 series and then the opportunities in the Southwest Fire Consortium are not limited to tribal members, right?
That is correct. It's open to everyone, but we make special effort to provide scholarships, find funding for people from BIA and tribal adjacent groups, just because we recognize that those opportunities aren't as readily available a lot of the time. So I'd say although it's open to everyone, we do try and prioritize folks from those groups.
Well, thank you, Kat, and please. Her office is right next or a few doors down. So I call her by Kat, but Dr. Edgeley, please. I do want to say one thing about 401. When I was working with BIA, it was a real challenge to find qualified individuals who could meet new requirements to be a fire management officer. And I see that this program was very responsive and did something to meet this need. And I know of several individuals working for tribes and the BIA that have taken advantage of this. It removed an obstacle for them, and they were able to proceed with their career and fulfill their dream of becoming a fire management officer. So, so I think that's just a good example of, how we're recognizing needs and being responsive and trying to address it. So